able to add to stream. There we go. So a blank white screen in the beginning. Sorry about that, everyone that is watching publicly. Anthony Lamacchia here with Crush It in Real Estate, and I am going to be putting on training for about the next 45 minutes, an hour, hour and 15. You just never know. But I'm going to go over several things that are going on in the real estate market, things that have happened over the last 6 to 8 months, what happened in 2022. And I'm also going to be talking about what I expect to see here in 2023 and what you need to be adjusting, adapting, how you can adjust your business to be able to deal with this changed market. When we look back in the history books, in the charts, the graphs, etc., 5, 6, 10 years from now, okay, you are going to see that 2022 is the year that the market started to adjust. It will go down in history as a historic year. If you are someone who read my predictions, no matter what part of the country or North America that you are in, I know we have several folks watching Crush It in Real Estate from Canada, you will see that I talked about how I think sales will be down overall in 2023 compared to 2022. But I want to remind everyone of something. I want everybody to be very aware of this, okay? Home sales since 2012 have pretty much done this every year. And then 2020 hit, they went up more, 21. That was the peak, 21, okay? 21 was the peak, and we've got to come down from there. So now 2022, there were less home sales. How many exactly, we don't know yet. The final numbers aren't out. But in a place like Massachusetts, where we had 101,000 homes for sell in 2021, we had about 80-something sell in 2023. Nationally, instead of having 6 million homes sell in 2021, which was the first time with over 6 million since 2005, we probably ended up around 5 million or maybe 4.9 or 4.8. Final numbers will be out in a few weeks. So we expect, if this was 2022, I guess I should have made it a little bigger. Hang on. Important that I draw this out. So this is 22, right? I expect 23 to be a little bit lower, and then things will probably take back off again with home sales, okay? We have to get back to a new normal, and maybe I didn't exactly draw that to scale, but bottom line, we've got to come down a bit more before we can get back to going on another 8 to 10 year run, which is customary for the real estate market. Interest rates right now are at a 4-month low. I think I just got my update, by the way. If any of you are looking for interest rate updates, yes, I'm pulling up my phone as I'm live on Crush It in Real Estate. But if you open up, I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to open up my Mortgage Daily News app. If you don't have Mortgage Daily News on your phone, you are making a mistake. I get one update a day in the middle of the day, and I know I got it, but I dismissed it. Rates are at 6.15%, and the average 30-year, that's an average 30-year fix. FHA is 5.75, 5-year ARM is 6%. So folks, these are good rates. Things are definitely looking better with rates. I think it's possible that rates go back up a bit before they go back down again. I think that's something that could very possibly happen. But overall, I think the trend of interest rates is going to be downward over the next 12 months. I think that when we get to a year from now, we'll be back in the 5s. Maybe we'll get lucky and be in the high 4s. But we certainly have lived through an interesting time. There were many people, listing brokers particularly, that got a little bit of humble pie in the fall. And that is because, prior to really July, a listing was money in the bank. And now it's not so much money in the bank. Now you might be back to that. Now that we're in January, buyer activity has significantly picked up. There's more buyer activity. I'm hearing about it across the country. Buyers are out looking for properties. Inventory is low. So it's very possible that for 3 or 4 months, we'll see a period of multiple offers, which I know we're seeing some now, and things feeling a bit like a year ago and 2 years ago. I do not expect it to be the same as it was, because with interest rates being higher and the economy being slower, there are less buyers out there. So it is very important to price your listings right, okay? particularly once we get past about June of this year, because you could run into a situation where you list a property, it's not selling, seller gets mad at you. Okay, we are in a business that we as realtors get more credit than we deserve when a home sells fast, but we also get more blame than we deserve when a home doesn't sell. That's just the way it is. And it's very frustrating, but when you're on the side of the home not selling. So it's important to think about that. A couple other important things that I want realtors to be thinking about is, let's think about home sales being down. Home sales have been down for pretty much every month for the last 6 months. They were down 11 of the 12 months in 2022, so I should say more than 6. For the next 4 to 5 months, home sales are going to continue to be down. Notice I keep saying home sales, home sales, home sales. So for those of you that follow me on Instagram, you will see, or you follow Lamacchia Realty on Instagram or Crush It in Real Estate on Instagram, you will see that yesterday we put out a video that Brandon and I filmed a week ago where I said, don't get confused between home sales and prices. It's two entirely different things, okay? So when you hear on the news, as we all hear all the time, home sales are down, home sales are down, make sure your buyer clients and your sellers are familiar with precisely what that means. That means the amount of sales. That does not mean prices, okay? If you look at my predictions, and I might ask Lindsay to come up here and help me because we had some technical difficulties, but if I was to go into my browser and share the next screen, hang on, we're not totally set up, but I'm going to type in anthonyspredictions.com. So if you want to see my 2023 predictions, can we get that so I can share it, please? If you say hello to Lindsay, everyone. Lindsay just filmed an awesome course, Instagram course for us. Lindsay's our vice president of marketing, and I'm going to talk about this while she pulls this up. So if you look at my predictions, you will see several things that I talk about, some of which I just mentioned. I mentioned interest rates. I mentioned what I expect to happen with home sales, okay? So, yeah, just once it's there, I know how to. All right, thank you. So, okay, I'm going to share this to the screen. Now, for all of you, if you have not read my real estate predictions yet, I strongly recommend you do it. I did hone in more specifically to Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and of course, Florida, since we serve those 6 states. But I talked broadly about a whole number of subjects. Very broadly about a whole number of subjects. So don't read it, and if you get to a sentence or two that's Massachusetts specific or New Hampshire specific, don't get all thrown off, because likely that applies to your state as well. And then I even put in broad statements where I said things like, hey, listen, I expect home sales to be down, I forget what I said, something like 5 or 8% in 2023. But I said if you're in Sunbelt states, places like Texas, Florida, I expect them to be down a bit more. Why? Because Florida has higher highs and lower lows. It's the way it is historically. Doesn't mean that anything's bad. I mean, no one should be scared to buy a home in Florida or invest there. But these are my predictions here. To see them, you can type anthonyspredictions.com into your browser, and you can see I went over a whole bunch of things here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to show you what I mean on a couple of different topics. Here's Massachusetts, for example. You can see we predicted that we'd end up somewhere around mid-80s for sales. Of course, we don't have that yet, but look at that. 05 is the last time, or was it 06? No, 05. Last time we were over 100,000 sales. And you can see here in 2021, we were over 100,000 sales, okay? So that's what I was talking about as far as a peak goes. This is something that I want to talk to everyone about, and everyone needs to be very aware of. The amount of homes listed, again, this is Massachusetts specific because I have this data more readily available, but it's applicable for most of North America, okay, with some variation. I have not yet confirmed, but I do believe that across the United States, there were less homes listed in 2022 than in any year since 2000. And as you can see from this graph, this is the case in Massachusetts. You can see right here, we had just over 80,000 homes listed in Massachusetts in 2022. And the last time that happened was the year 2000. Now, here's what's interesting. If I scroll down on my predictions a little further, and we look at Connecticut, there's a new state that we entered. We're very happy to be in central Connecticut. Check this out. Same thing. It's obviously a little bit of a smaller market. Call it 70,000-ish homes for sale. The last time it was that low was the mid-90s. So we're definitely in a historic time where sellers are hesitating to list, and I talk about that in my predictions. Why is that happening? They don't want to give up their interest rate. And I'm going to talk to you about how to overcome that as a realtor. That's one of the things that I'm going to go over in this training, as well as the benefits of home ownership, etc. So take a look at this. I just want to show off the predictions a little bit more, and you'll see, look at the interest rate graph. This goes all the way back to the 1970s. And look what happened. They spiked very quickly in 2022, and now they're starting to come back down again. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I kept looking at the lines, and I'm like, that's not an interest rate graph. That's the amount of home sales. I apologize if I confused anyone. That's the amount of home sales. Now pay close attention to this. What happened in late 20, 21, early 22? We were at a rate of over 6 million home sales, and there actually was over 6 million home sales nationally in 2021. And look what's happened. It's fallen down. We've got to get back to some normalcy here, which is around 5 million a year, and that's going to happen. If you read the predictions thoroughly, you'll see that I said, oh, it'll be 1980, like 1982. I did not mean we're going to go down to 2 million sales. I meant 2023 will be the valley of this cycle change, was my point. Sorry, I mixed up on interest rates. If I keep going here, this shows off Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach. This is single families and condos sold. This is interesting. And no matter where you are in the country, I see people watching right now from Windsor, Ontario, from Kentucky, from California, all different places. You should be interested in what's going on in South Florida, because that tells you how things are going on across the country. When the economy is strong, people are going into Florida buying properties. When the economy slows down, there's less people buying second homes. Very normal. Look what happened in 2021. Just in South Florida, just want to make sure I'm saying the right thing. Closed sales, close to 70,000. And I'm sorry, for condos, just condos was over 60,000. Single families, over 50,000. Folks, we're talking about 120, 130,000 sales in 1 year in just South Florida. That's more than all of Massachusetts in just 3 counties of Florida. It's very interesting to me. So you can see, again, there's the peak. So as I pointed out to you, it doesn't really matter the market. What matters is, it doesn't matter the market. There's so many similarities, but in the markets with second homes, they're naturally going to get hit a little bit harder. Let me see if there's anything else I want to show you here. Average prices. Look at this. This is my whole point. When you are talking to buyers, folks, I'm going to go off screen for a minute here. When you are talking to buyers, and buyers say to you, is this another 2008? Is this 08 again? I'm worried everybody has post-traumatic stress disorder from 08. Everybody thinks that we're always going to have home values just collapse. Folks, the last time it happened to the extent that it happened in 08 was in the 1930s. Of course, prices went down in various pockets in between. In the early 90s, the late 70s, early 80s, when interest rates went up. There was a period in the mid 60s. Of course, after the World War II and the baby boomers came home, everybody bought homes, and then it slowed down in the early 50s. But as far as percentage of price fallout, the last time that it happened to the extent of 08 was the 1930s. You need to be able to explain that to a buyer like that. Okay? I'm going to go back on screen here and show you some of this information, because it'll help you get better at your job, right? Knowing, being more aware of what is going on. Take a look at Florida. Look at the average sale prices since 2008, 9, 10. Look what happened. Even look at 2019. Folks, we're talking about average sale price 500,000. Now the average sale price is 900. So even if prices slide back from last May at the peak to the next year or two, even if they slide back in a place like Florida where it's going to be a little more dramatic, 10%. Oh my God! Call an ambulance. 10%, we went up 60%. It's not a big deal. Place like Massachusetts, I don't think it'll be that dramatic. What I had predicted in here, if you read it, look at New Hampshire on this graph. Look how much prices went up in the last 5-6 years. What I had predicted in here is I think prices will go either up 3% or down 3% in 23. Sorry, 2023. That was my prediction. Look at Massachusetts, because I know the large majority of the audience is Massachusetts. Take a look at this. The average sale price going up completely. We're at 600,000 for 2022. Okay, that's very strong. And before going into the pandemic, prices were like 450. So this is large price growth, substantial. So if we have to give some back, it's not the end of the world, and you need to be prepared to talk to your buyers about that. There's my conclusion, blah, blah, blah. I think that's enough on my updates. Another item that I want to go through, and I'm going to use Mass as an example, but I'm going to go quickly because I know that we have an audience from all over the country. I don't want to spend too much time on Mass. But if you want to see what is going on in Massachusetts, you should be monitoring marealestateupdates.com on a weekly basis. We update all of this information. Take a look at this. And again, this is very similar to the rest of the country. Homes listed per week. This is homes listed per week back 6 years, okay? Look at the red line. The red line is 2022. It's very interesting. Once interest rates went up, what happened to the amount of homes listed? Many people expected, it's going to affect buyers. Well, it affected sellers as well. Why? Because a huge percentage of sellers are also what? Buyers. Thank you. I do have an audience in the room. There's a large percentage of sellers are also buyers. So look what happened. The amount of homes listed, if you follow this line, down dramatically. And now we're starting the year. Look over here, the purple line, 2023, 1,000 homes listed for sale last week. Think about that, though. 1,000. So if anybody tries to tell you the market's so slow, there's nothing to sell, there's homes to sell. It might not be enough, but there's homes to sell. Now, if I scroll down, snapshot of homes for sale each week, this is literally a snapshot of the amount of homes for sale every Saturday night. We have this data all the way back to 2011. This might be familiar to many of you who watched my video updates during COVID. We watched them very closely together. And if you look at the amount of homes for sale, the orange line's 2020, you can see it didn't go up like it does every year. It went across because there were so few homes listed that year. The last 2 years, we got back into homes being listed. Folks, nationally, please don't get distracted that this says Massachusetts is similar in your market. Okay, now the inventory was able to climb this year. And look, we ended the year above the year prior, which hasn't happened in at least a few years, the amount of inventory. That's single families. We don't need to go over that. Look at homes pending per week. Very important. This is a similar statistic for the whole country. Look at this. Pending home sales were down in early 22. Why? Because many buyers were also sellers. Many sellers were also buyers, and they didn't know where they were going to go. Pay attention to that point because I'm going over that shortly. Okay? People were scared to list their homes because they said, well, where the hell am I going to go? I'm going to cover that. We're going to talk about want to be sellers. That was reason number one that people were hesitant to list. Now we have another reason, it's interest rates, and we're going to talk about that as well, I promise you. Take a look here, homes pending. Look what happened when we get to the middle of the year and interest rates went up so much, homes pending dramatically fell off. So if you're watching, you should, and you're one of these agents that got slow and got down on yourself or got frustrated, you should be thinking to yourself, okay, I guess it wasn't just me. That's right, it wasn't just you. The market changed. Adjustment year. We should welcome it. It's going to get affordability back in check. Percentage of homes listed per week based on what's listed. Look at that. Slowed way down from the last 2 years. That's the amount of properties that an offer is accepted on versus the amount of properties that are listed in a given week the whole year. Look at this. We came back down to earth. We need to be down here, not up here. We had 1 week in early 2022 that nearly 50%, it was what, 47% of the homes that were listed, an offer was accepted on. That's an unhealthy market. Okay? So here's the interest rate graph. I just want to show that. You can see that we peaked in early October. Interest rates have come down. They might go up a little bit for a period of time and then back down, fine, but we'll deal with it, right? But that's a great graph that you should be showing to homeowners. Average selling price in Massachusetts, $680,000 $425,000. Let's talk about this for a minute, folks. We're going to have national graphs out in a few weeks, but this is Massachusetts because it's the majority of the audience. Think of all the people in April of 2008 that said home prices are going to crash. At that time, the average price when COVID first hit was $489,000. Look at right now, $625,000. Do you guys understand my point when I say big deal if prices go back a little bit? I mean, in a way, it's a good thing. And I said that in my predictions. We need affordability to improve. And for all these links that I'm going through and all these pages, this is marealestateupdates.com. The predictions page was anthonyspredictions.com. In a minute, we're going to be opening, what do I want to open first? I want to open the four benefits, www.homeownershipbenefits.com. Tough to type when you're live on Facebook. Let's see if I did it. Boom. I did it. All right. This is important, and I want to spend some time talking about it because this is one of the things. When I promised you all that I was going to do this training live, I promised you that I was going to go over things that you need to be better at, things that you need to explain to your buyers, okay? One of them is the benefits of home ownership, because we used to be in a position where the last 2 years, buyers were just happy to own a home, folks. To buy a home, because everyone had a massive case of what? FOMO. Everyone had, wow, great marker. All right. Everyone had fear of missing out, right? Literally everyone. Now we're back to a market where people are not scared to miss out because they're concerned about interest rates, okay? You as a realtor need to be very good at naming the benefits of home ownership, okay? And what I started to mention was these links that I'm showing you, we're going to be sending them out later to whoever puts their email in the chat. So if you'd like to get all these links in one page, just put your email in the comment section on Facebook and or Instagram, and we will collect all the emails and send you all these links in one email so you can look at them. But this page that we built on our website is the 4 benefits of home ownership. Realtors, you should be using this. Realtors in my company, you should be using it all day, right? If you want to, or come up with it on your own and put it out. But even realtors outside the company that are watching, it will help you to put these kinds of materials out there to educate the public. And when you have it from a third party, if you're at another company, we're a third party. Sometimes they're more likely to listen, right? So check this out. Control of your own domain. That is a home buyer benefit, a home ownership benefit that you should be talking about to buyers. When you own a home, you are definitely in a better position to control your domain. You can paint. You don't have to ask anyone. You can put the trash out when you want. You can park the way you want in your driveway, et cetera, et cetera. I could go on and on. But that is one of the items. I'm just going to put here, control. If I had to mention the 4 benefits of home ownership, and obviously there's more benefits, but I'm going to mention the main 4. That would be 1. 2 would be a fixed payment. Okay, fixed payment. I'm really doing great with markers today, folks. Markers in technology. Fixed payment. Think about fixed payment. Last year, when interest rates went up, within a month, everyone said, I can't believe how much rents went up. Rents have gone up so much. Well, I wonder why. Rents went up so much. Why? Because home buyers went running into renting, right? They went running to rent. That's a problem. And what did that do? It drove up rental demand. And what did people end up doing? They end up renting properties, driving the price of rentals up. Now I go on to the next one, asset growth. This is the one. I'll write asset growth. This is the one that everyone was so excited about and everyone had so much FOMO over in the last 2 years. Absolutely everyone. They were, oh my God, I'm going to miss out. Prices are going up, 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 up. Now they're not as excited about that. And somehow it seems as if buyers have forgotten what is so important. Okay. So that's something that is important to keep in mind. Right now, do I think we're going to see significant asset growth or equity growth or price appreciation in the next year or two? No, I don't. We're not going to see prices go up like crazy, and buyers should be thrilled. That's why they should get in. Aren't buyers great? The last 2 years, I can't wait till there's not 20 offers on a property. I'm so sick and tired of competing for properties. We get to summer and fall, the market slows down. Are there offers on this home? Are there? I don't know. There's not? I don't know if I'm interested. Let me think about it. Let me think it over for a few days. And you're like, what? Your head wants to explode. Why? Folks, that's why Warren Buffett is the richest cash-rich person in the world. Because when everyone is scared, he runs in and buys. When everyone's running in and buying, he backs off, right? You should talk to buyers about that. What about the mortgage interest deduction? MID. That is something that our realtor associations have defended for years. Those dues you pay every single year, which, by the way, once you get involved, if you do, you will realize it's a small price to pay, realtor dues. And they fight for the benefit of homeowners, private property rights, and realtors in Washington, D.C. And there's been several times under several presidents that they've done tax reform, and they have tried to take away the mortgage interest deduction, which means a portion of the mortgage interest when a buyer buys a home can be deducted from people's taxes. You can't do that on a rental. When you pay rent, you can't deduct your mortgage interest, okay? You can't. So you have to know that, and you got to be able to explain that to buyers and explain the benefit. So keep those things in mind, those 4 benefits of home ownership. You need to be able to explain like that to buyers because it's a big deal. And I'm going to give you one last peek at this page. God, I love StreamYard more than Zoom. I'm saying that on purpose for our tech people to hear me. Look at this. I have a YouTube video where I explain it. I've put it out on my Instagram, on our company ones. I'm not a tough guy to find. Go around and look, and you'll be able to see these things, but you can see it here at 4homeownershipbenefits.com. All right. Another thing I want to go over with you, which was the, hang on, I'll go back to me while I type this in. This next one, stay with me, folks. Love when the mouse doesn't work. Hang on. Okay. I'm going to go and I'm going to log on to wanttobesellers.com. Or is it want to be seller? wanttobesellers.com. Lindsay's typing on another computer over here, and she types faster than me, and all I hear is brrr. Seller, want to be seller. I got it up right here. Oh, you're damn right we bought both. That marketing team's amazing, Lindsay. All right, folks, check this out. This goes over the customary reasons that people have been hesitating to sell and to buy. Sell buys, okay? We name many things across here. Worried about buying and selling at the same time is that one. Worried about having to move twice. Can you sell your home without listing it? Searching for a home but cannot seem to find it? Think about that. Worried about not having a place to go? Guess what? There's videos here of me explaining every answer. We have success stories of sell-by clients who have been successful with us. We have me explaining each and every one. These videos are 4 years old, folks. You can see my hairline's way better. Hey, it is what it is. We all age, right? Now, think about this. Okay, I don't want people to, those of you that are watching and you're at other companies, you might be saying, oh, is this an advertisement for his company? If you think that, just hang up now. I don't care. What I'm doing is I'm showing you where the content is because I'm helping you learn how to explain that content. You don't have to share the content, but you at least should go on and check it out to educate yourself, okay? People have a legitimate fear. They're legitimately concerned about listing their homes because they're thinking, well, how do I know where to go? And that's why we created a document. Let me see if I can find that document. I had it in here yesterday, and I went over it in a national training with our national customers where I talked about what I refer to as the roadmap. And that is how people can go down one road or the other. Listing agents can help people go down one road or the other when they are listing their homes. They can either list the property with protections, right, disclosures, etc., or get a seller totally ready to list their home, but then pause, right? We have a document that shows that. You know what I'll do? I'll send that document out. We'll send the Crush It in Real Estate version. Everybody who puts their email in here in the comments, I will also send you that PDF since I can't pull it up right now. Sorry about that, but I'll make sure to email that out to you as well. Lindsay, we can send attachments to 300 people, right? All right, Lindsay, you got this. Yeah, I said I was doing it. Yes, I am doing it. But I want to point that out because you have to get very good at having conversations with sellers about going down the road of listing their property or getting it ready and waiting. Now, remember, if you're dealing with a sell by who wants to buy a home on 5 specific streets, okay, you probably shouldn't list their home because that's too specific. But if you're dealing with a buyer who says, hey, I will buy anywhere in Louisville, Kentucky, as long as I can get a 3-bedroom, and here's my price range, and you say, well, Jesus, that's easy, that's a wide range, then you could list the home and take a chance that they'll find something else in time. You can push the closing date out. You can negotiate that the sale is subject to the seller finding suitable housing. There's many things you can do. We list those on that document, and we talk about some of them in here in the want to be seller section. Another thing that I want to talk about, which is probably the biggest topic today, possibly, is mortgage rate buy downs. Very, very critical to talk about these. There are buyers and sellers, remember sellers that are also buyers, who are deeply concerned about listing their homes because they're saying, I don't want to give up my rate, right? I don't want to give up my rate. I have a 2.6, I have a 3.5, I have a 3% rate. Okay, entirely understandable. Why would you want to give up your rate? I see people in our company commenting their emails. Folks, if you're in our company, you're going to get all this stuff. Don't worry. We're not going to neglect you guys. But people are concerned about losing their rate. So when someone says that to you on a buyer lead call, your rebuttal could and should be, okay, well, what if I could help you find a property with a similar rate or a rate that was close to that? What do you mean? How could you do that? It's not property specific. Well, there are temporary mortgage buy down options. 2-1 buy down has become very, very popular. Does everyone know what a 2-1 buy down is? Comment yes if you've done it. If you've done it, not just know of it, but if you've done it in the last 6 months, comment yes in the comments so I will be able to see that we have a lot of people familiar with it. 2-1 buy down means it's a temporary buy down of the interest rate. Right now, interest rates are in the low 6s. So you'd be able to get the rate down 2 points in the first year, which would be low 4s, 1 point in the second year, and hopefully by the time you get to 2 years out, they'll be able to refinance into a more permanent rate. Now, they might look at you and say, well, I'm at 3%. You're telling me I can get it down to 4. Yeah, that's better than paying 6, but that's still not low enough. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, have you heard of a mortgage assumption? Who's familiar with mortgage assumptions? Right? That's a whole other option. I'm going to go over that with you in a few minutes. But for right now, what I want to do is I want to type in, I'm going to go to a web address that we have bought that we named LaMacchiaRateBuyDown.com. And I'm going to show you this web page that we set up where we have videos explaining all of this. Folks, these things that I'm talking to you about are the difference between you helping someone achieve what they want to and not. One of the reasons that we realized we needed to put out significantly more education was our inside sales department, relocation department started saying, you know, we're noticing, if we send out a newer agent on an appointment or an experienced agent, the experienced agents are getting more people to actually take action and list and buy homes. The newer agents are having a harder time getting people to understand how there are options. So we started putting out all kinds of education on it, okay? That's why we have these pages. So LaMacchiaRateBuyDown.com is the web page. I'm surprised we only got a few yeses from people doing the 2-1 buy. Okay, maybe there's a dozen there. But let me show you this. This here talks about buy downs as a whole. I explained the different versions. I don't think they could have possibly picked a worse picture of me, but maybe I made the marketing team angry that day. I don't quite know what happened. But if you look here, I go over the 2-1 buy down. Folks, I did that right here. For those of you that are concerned or confused about how a buy down, a temporary buy down works, there's just a separate escrow account that is set up. The buyer, when you negotiate, if you're negotiating on behalf of a buyer, what you should be doing is negotiating to get a closing cost credit for that buyer. take that closing cost credit dollar amount, put all or some of it into buying down the interest rate. When the interest rate is bought down at closing, that money that's allocated for the buy down goes into a separate escrow account. So instead of one escrow account, there's two. The first escrow account is for typical escrow, right? I'm going to draw two circles here. Okay, I'll put here E1 and E2. All right. If you look at that, you can see in this blog where I literally go over everything. We have all the samples in there. We show you how much money comes back. So if you look at that closely, it's a little tough to see on screen, but the 2-1 buy down in the middle on a $500,000 purchase is about a $9,100 buy down dollar amount. So that would go into the escrow account, $9,100. And every single month, the amount of money that's allocated toward the payment just comes out and goes toward the payment. Now, some of you might think, well, geez, in this market, am I going to be able to get a closing cost credit for that amount? Let me spend a few minutes on that because that can be very confusing to agents, okay? I agree with you. In the next 3 months, it'll be a little bit harder to get larger closing cost credits than in the last 3 months. In the last 3 months, there were a significant amount of homes that weren't selling, okay? I shouldn't say significant. There were some homes that weren't selling. Easier to negotiate when that happens than when it doesn't. But you should be focused on the net number to the seller. If a seller makes an offer for $500,000, okay? Let's say that's the net. That's the net sale price. Net sale price, okay? And this is actually the example that I did in the video that you'll see on that page. That's the net sale price. You could make the top number, which now I screwed up because I put 500 up there, but you could make the offer price $515. Okay, $515,000, $15,000 back. That's 3%. It might sound like a lot of money, but it's not. Now, if you go to the closing cost allowance money here, check this out. On this page, we explain to you what each type of mortgage allows for a closing cost credit. Right there, Mass Housing, 3%, VA, 4%, FHA, 6%, USDA, 6%, Fannie Freddie is anywhere between, call it 2, 3, it's 2% on investment properties, 6% with more money down, 3%, blah, blah, blah. If you're representing a buyer, you should be negotiating for the larger closing cost credit. And if you get a listing agent that's not terribly familiar, you simply say to the listing agent, hey, why are you focused on the dollar amount back? Focus on the net number right here, 500,000. Focus on that. Get them to understand that. Get that money back for your buyer. Put it towards the mortgage. Now you got their rate down for the first 2 years or 3 years. There's also a 3-2-1 mortgage buy down. We just talked, remember the hypothetical I gave you 5 minutes ago with a seller saying, well, hang on, I want to be at 3%. Okay. Well, with a 3-2-1 buy down, we can do that. First year, rate is 3 points lower. Second year, rate is 2 points lower. Third year, rate is 1 point lower. Hopefully by then, you can refinance. Talk to the buyers about that so that they understand. All of this stuff is explained in this page. Again, I will send this page, all these pages in one email to all of you with all of these links. And if you put your email in the comments, we'll get it to you. Now, someone in our company just asked, what if the house doesn't appraise for as much as the closing cost? Well, then you have to deal with it and you have to make adjustments. But you should do all you can to get that to work. You should be working with the listing agent, educating that appraiser and getting them to understand the value. I don't think you're going to have very many appraisal problems in the months to come. There's a lot of sold comps from last summer that were very high. We might, when you get into April and May, if there's a lot of multiple offers, you might run into some, but you deal with it, okay? Also remember, once you land a house for your buyer, it's a lot easier to renegotiate than to land the house in the first place when you're in a low inventory market. Folks, you have to be totally familiar with all of these things. You need to be an expert again. This is not, the the last couple of years where if you could just put a house up for sale, it would sell, even if you overpriced it by 5 or 10%. Now we're back into a real estate market, a market where it matters to do things the right way and to be an expert. It's important. You got to be an expert. Okay? You need to know things inside out. All this material we're putting out, I know I'm showing off a lot of things from my company's page, but that's where they are. You want to see them? Go check them out. You don't want to? No problem. But you need to be an expert. Last thing I want to talk about, and then I'll go over a recap. We're going to talk about mindset and action items and all of these kinds of things that you should be doing in your day-to-day. All right, but the last tactical thing I want to talk about, remember, I talked about the 4 benefits. I talked about temporary buy downs. There's also traditional mortgage buy downs. That's explained in there. Adjustable rate mortgages is another one that you should talk to people about. I think I have a video on that in there. You know, adjustable rate mortgages are a wonderful option right now, and people should not be scared of them because of what happened 18 years ago. Those mortgages were predatory. They were very complicated. They made it so that people's rates went up all of a sudden. It wasn't right. Now, they're much more stringent on those kinds of things, and rates can't go up more than a point a year in most cases with most mortgages. Now, folks, keep in mind, I'm a realtor, okay? I'm not a mortgage broker. I'm not a mortgage originator. My company isn't, but the point I'm conveying to you is you don't have to become one of them, but you have to get some knowledge in this area so that you can have conversations. You need to be able to explain this stuff to your buyers. Now let's talk mortgage assumptions. Mortgage assumptions is something that I think will grow over the next couple of years. We've been dealing with a couple of them in our company, not quite as many as I thought we would be by now. But buyers are obviously interested in assuming someone else's mortgage if they can get a mortgage, get their hands on a mortgage that is 2 or 3%. So let's say you have a homeowner that calls you, because every realtor out there should think about this. Let's say you have a homeowner that calls you and says, listen, I want to sell my home. I bought it 2 years ago and then I have an FHA loan. Bingo, bells should go off in your head. Any loans backed by HUD, backed by Housing and Urban Development, you can easily, I shouldn't say easily. I shouldn't say the word easily. Assumptions, anything dealing with mortgage services aren't necessarily easy, but they're doable. It's allowed in their mortgage letter, straight out of HUD. We had a meeting with the folks at HUD 2 weeks ago. We talked about this in detail. If someone wants to assume a homeowner's mortgage and they are qualified to do it, a buyer could literally buy someone's home, take over their mortgage, and with whatever years remain on it, maybe they got 27 years left, 26, 23, I don't know, and they can take that mortgage over. There's FHA mortgages out there across America that are 2.6%, 2.7%. Now, a lot of people say to me, well, Anthony, what happens with the difference in the money with what the home is worth and what the home is worth? I think I use permanent marker, pretty sure. But a lot of people ask what happens between the value of what the home is worth and what is left over on the mortgage. Okay, buyers got to pay it. There's plenty of buyers, millions of buyers across the country that are, it's all right, you don't have to clean it, that are perfectly happy putting down 20%, and they're planning to put down 20 or 30%. So let's do a hypothetical example. Someone wants to buy a $500,000 home. They've saved up $100,000, and they've said, I'm going to put 20% down. 20% down on $500,000 is $100,000. You're showing them homes. You come across a home that has an FHA mortgage. They owe $390,000 and their interest rate is 2.7%. You want to talk to that listing agent and see if there is a way to assume that mortgage. Now, if the listing can be sold easily, you might have a harder time convincing them to work with your buyer and then work with the bank and take 6 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever it is to get that mortgage assumption approved. But I think we might hit a period of time next fall where we might see listings have a harder time selling like we just saw this past fall, or maybe even the fall after. This is a couple of years, this real estate adjustment. This isn't a blip on the radar for 6 months. And when that happens, you need to be educated. So what did we do? let's see if people can guess what we did. We created a web page. If anyone can believe that, I know that might sound crazy, but you should log on to mortgageassumptions.com. I was going to type it in. Well, I was going to click on it, and then I was going to type it in. All right, I guess I have to type it in. Let me see. No, there it is. You log on to mortgageassumptions.com, folks. You will see a complete page that we set up that educates the public on mortgage assumptions. Buyers, sellers, mortgages, buyers, sellers, realtors, I should say. Take a look at this. Let me pull it up on the screen. Here's the page we set up. We have an introduction video, a video talking about the benefits of an assumption to a seller. One of the things we talk about is buyers being willing to pay a premium. I just talked to you about how buyers can either get a closing cost credit from their bank, from the seller, to be able to drive the rate down. Folks, there's also buyers out there, don't forget, that for 50 years have been paying extra money down to drive the amount of monthly interest down. That's a traditional mortgage rate buy down. Buying your rate down over 30 years, paying more upfront. You look at this goes over the benefits to sellers, benefits to buyers, does all the math right here, all kinds of things, calculators, etc. Check that out, mortgageassumptions.com. So that concludes as far as going over these specific tactics, these specific things that I feel realtors need to be more knowledgeable on. You need to be more knowledgeable on the fact that buyers have a little bit less FOMO than before. They have less fear of missing out than they used to have, okay? So you should be talking up the benefits of home ownership. We also talked about mortgage rate buy downs, mortgage assumptions, all these different things that you should be intimately familiar with, okay? In addition to that, to have a good year in 2023 and do a great job for your clients, you need to have the right mindset. You need to be in action. You need to be in offense, okay? Over the last few years, we saw a lot of people get into the business as realtors to dilly-dally. Well, I'm going to try it. Well, I'm going to give it a try, see how it goes. I'm going to work part-time. This is not a part-time business. If you have to do that for a period of time to ramp yourself, no problem. I did the same thing in 2004 and 2005. We've all been there. But down the line, you should be working hard to ramp your business up and do more business, okay? And in order to do that, you need to be focused. You need to be working, becoming an expert, learning all the different areas, and being prepared to answer these questions for clients. The more you educate, the more you will attract. The more information you put out, the more you will draw people to you, okay? And you keep at that. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity here in 2023. There's no reason that everybody who's focused on those that are focused on their business can't have a huge year. Absolutely no reason whatsoever. Don't let anyone tell you that. If you need some mindset, pick me up. Follow me on Instagram. I put out all kinds of Crush It Mindset videos that I put out there. And if you don't want to bother seeing my family and all these other things that I post on Instagram, just go on Instagram and search the hashtag Crush It in Real Estate. Crush It Mindset. Hashtag Crush It Mindset. Lindsay's trying to grow the Crush It in Real Estate Instagram page faster than I'm growing my personal Facebook, and we have a little race going on here, folks. So when in doubt, follow both. All right? All right, thank you all. That concludes my first of the year, beginning of the year 2023 real estate updates and recommendations for realtors. I will do this again at some point, probably a few months from now. Yes, why don't we take some questions for a couple of minutes? It sounds like we have some. People want to comment their questions. I'm happy to answer. I have a few more minutes that I can spend here. But type away if you have questions. I see lots of thank yous. Thank you too. I'll give it a minute to see if any questions come in. Sorry about the delay in getting on here. We had some tech difficulties, but I think we recovered well. You're all so sweet. Everyone is replying. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All righty. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you very much. I'm going to shut off the broadcast. Watch Crush It in Real Estate every day.